Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to episode, I believe, 168 of Behind the ToolBelt.
Jeez,
Yes.
out there.
I know that's crazy. And I'm Ty Backer, your host and sometimes co-host. And I'm with my good friend Hunter Ballew with roofing.com, Revolt. What roofing.com, Revolt. And what am I missing? I'm missing something. My mind just totally went blank.
RoofCon.
RoofCon, Jesus Christ. Sorry. I lost my mind. My headphones are so stinking loud right this second. I think I got to turn it down on my end. And it seems like it's picking up a lot of back noise. But anyhow, Hunter, dude, my man, I gotta let you know, you've definitely impacted a lot of people, and particularly myself. And Jana's life in many ways than you'll ever know. And Maggie has been a big influence on Jana and I's life. And we've been trying to get you on the show for 2 years. And I was kind of busting your balls earlier when Eric was on the show. And I was like, we have a very special guest that's been avoiding me for 2 years. And I won't mention any names, Hunter Ballew. But for good reasons. There was a lot of in between things that you wanted to talk about, but you weren't certain if you wanted to launch it yet or whatever, things like that. And I'm busy, you're busy, stuff like that. But I was just busting your balls. But I'm grateful we waited to when we did, because a lot has happened since the first time I had asked you to come on the show. Between Jan and I's getting married and RoofCon and Revolt, where Revolt is today, and everything roofing.com that you've been so involved with the John Maxwell stuff that you do. And dude, why don't you just give us where how did this all start, dude? Like go, you don't have to go back 15 years ago, but go back 7 years ago.
Yeah, so it's always funny when people ask you how you got in the roofing industry. For most of us, I don't think we grew up wanting to be in the roofing industry. I know you got in pretty early, and you were like installing roofs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, it was not that at all. I mean, I was from South Carolina. I'm a blue collar dude. I knew a little bit about construction, but I definitely was not a roofer. And so I worked at the fire department. I was in the Marine Corps. I did each of those for 5-6 years and got out of there. Just wanted to start my own business. And so I started a marketing agency. And from there, decided that'd be a good idea to start a roofing company, because I had started working with some roofing companies. And I thought, man, I'll just start one as a case study. And I did. I brought on a guy that knew a little bit more about roofing than I did. He helped me get started. We started to grow from there. We just enjoyed the industry. For me, I've always said very publicly, like, I don't love roofing. There's really nothing about roofing that I love. In fact, if anything, I probably dislike roofing a little bit. But it's just a vehicle that helps us accomplish what we want to accomplish. And we meet great people like you and so many other people that are here at IRE and RoofCon and Revolt. And so that's been the fun part for me, is leaving the fire department, leaving the Marine Corps, and kind of losing that community and that brotherhood, and being able to come full circle and start an event, RoofCon, and have thousands of people come and have a mastermind with over 100 people. Like, that's the fun stuff for me now.
Yeah, for sure. Which the roofing space has been the vehicle for you. And I like that. And I'll beg to differ. I had made mention earlier when Eric was on the show. I said, no one as a child says to themselves that I want to grow up to be a roofer except Eric O.
Yeah, because his grandpa.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I was like, holy shit, I never thought of that. And so there is one individual in this world, in this roofing space, that actually wanted to grow up and be a roofer. But no, I mean, that wasn't something that I thought either, that I wanted to grow up to be a roofer. Now, my dad is a great carpenter by trade. He's a mechanical engineer, but his dad, his brothers, my uncles are all well-rounded carpenters, from furniture to home building. So they can do they're pretty good craftsmen. So I knew how to read a tape measure, swing a hammer, but that wasn't my mission in life. I wanted to play baseball. I wanted to become a cook. My mom is a very good cook. I had an opportunity to go to Shepherdstown College in West Virginia. Kind of botched that up a little bit, but like you said, I don't think any of us grow up to want to be a roofer, but I'm grateful that I found it, or it found me. So from there, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did roofing.com, did Revolt, did what happened there?
Yeah, so we started, Cornerstone Construction, our roofing company, that case study.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of, to be honest, half-assed it for a couple of years. 2017, I started May of 2017, and then 2018, and towards the end of 2018, we brought on a couple of team members and started to get serious. And then in January of 2019, I said, "Hey, let's take this thing seriously. Let's go all in." I kind of quit dabbling in the other stuff. I quit doing marketing. I quit consulting, and just focused on the actual roofing company itself. And we started to grow pretty quickly. Not huge. We did like 5 million that year, which was good for us. Our first like real year taking it serious. And me being me, started that year. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna focus on roofing. And me being me, like a freaking squirrel in the road, I'm like, man, I got to do something else. And so I start RoofCon at the end of that year. I had thrown my first event in Greenville, South Carolina. It was a men's group that I led, and Pate Smith, the guy in the roofing industry, came out to that and was a speaker, and he said, man, we need something like this for the roofing industry. And so I said, all right, well, we'll put something together. I started looking for domains online. I found roofcon.com. It was $5,000 at the time. I remember sitting at the supper table at Shortfields in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. I actually have a picture of my wife holding my little boy, and he's eating a lemon with a little soury face look. And I was telling her, like, I really want it to be called RoofCon, but this URL is $5,000. Like, you know how it is in business.
Yeah.
Everyone else thinks you're just killing it. You got all this money, but you're invested back in the business. Cash flow was, it was okay, but I didn't have a ton of personal money. So I pulled the trigger, even though it hurt $5,000 for that URL. And like 60 days later, we threw RoofCon, and we had 40 people come. I mean, I was embarrassed. I was let down. I was apologizing to speakers, and speakers were telling me, hey man, if we just change one life, that's all that matters. One life, that's all that matters. And when we left there, man, I always tell people this: if there was 40 attendees, like 39 of them were online talking about how great it was, and it was the best conference ever, and it focused on personal development. It wasn't about money. And so we're like, okay, maybe we do have something, because I left there thinking, like, we're probably not going to do this again. And after we got all the good feedback, we're like, all right, let's do it. Well, then what happens in 2020?
Yeah.
COVID.
Yes.
COVID. So I bring Diego on. A lot of you guys know Diego. I bring Diego on he's right there.
Yes, he is.
To help with RoofCon, to sell vendors, all that good stuff. And COVID hits, and everyone's like, well, you can't do a conference now. And I'm like, we'll see, because I'm doing it. And I just had this strong feeling that it wasn't going to matter a ton with roofers. And if anything, I was going to get the people that aligned with me the most, because they were going to want to rebel against all the rules and regulations. And so we did, man. We threw it in Houston. Funny enough, we threw it in Houston at the NRG Center, pretty big convention center. When we got there, the people weren't prepared at all. Like, they sold us a space. We paid it. We had it reserved, all that. But they were like, everyone else is canceled. Like, we weren't ready. We didn't have, because they had like mask police and all the people letting you in the door and all these things. So they weren't ready for us at all. They thought we were going to cancel. And I was like, no, I'm not canceling. We had 900 people come.
Wow.
So we went from 40 to 900. We had 50 vendors. So we had like 8 or 10, I think 10 at the first one, and then 50. And then from there, it went 2,200 attendees in 2021 and 125 vendors. And then this past year, we had 250 vendors and 3,400 attendees. This year, we're probably going to keep it in that 250 to 280 range on vendors, but we're going for 5,000 attendees. And this year, we're opening it back up, so the expo is free. So you'll be able to come into something like this, like IRE, for free. And then if you want to go to the breakout sessions and speakers, then that costs money.
Of course.
And then, of course, in the process, we started Revolt, and have had a lot of fun with that along the way.
Yeah.
That's more of like the passion piece for me. That's like, it's not my whole life, everything's been for sale, right? Like, my family gives me hell about it all the time. Everything's for sale. It's got a price tag. Revolt, for me, I don't want to say never, but for me, that's the one that's like, I'm going to be focused on that for the next 50 years, trying to change lives and impact people and develop leaders. Everything else has a price tag, like, we'll figure it out. But for me, Revolt is that long-term piece.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. All right, so let's rewind here a little bit. Back when you hosted your first RoofCon and you only had 40 people, was there something that happened or something that somebody said? I know you said 39 of those people online said it was great, but what happened that convinced you that it was a good idea to do RoofCon 2?
Yeah, it was those people. It was the vendors specifically. Phil Sanav, he's with Morgan & Morgan now. He came up to me. I'll never forget. I was walking back in the doors the last day. I opened the door. He stopped me. He hugged me. He said, "Brother, I'm with you every year from here on out. I appreciate what you're doing, and this is different than everything else in the industry." The speakers were saying that. The sponsors were saying that. The attendees were saying that. And then the results the attendees started to get after the fact. Because one thing for us, man, is I tell people at every single, I mean, you've experienced it at every RoofCon, at every small event set to scale, at every Revoltex retreat, at every member retreat. It ain't the hunter show. It's really not. Like I try to not make it the hunter show. Like
Right.
I don't want to be the main guy. I don't want to be the face. I want it to be about the community. I want it to be a place where we can find true relationships to hold each other accountable when we leave this place. A quote that I kind of spit out at that first RoofCon, and I've always said it since then, is 7-figure handshakes trump 6-figure keynotes. I can give a great keynote. I can do an awesome job on this podcast and give you some training, whatever, to help scale your business, sell your business, whatever. But the relationships you can build with people in a room like this are invaluable, man. Invaluable.
Oh yeah, they say today's currency is our relationships that we're building today, for sure.
I believe
No,
it.
and yeah. So you're saying, okay, so you're not fond of the roofing industry, but I know you're exaggerating a little bit. I know you love the roofing industry, right? But where you find your true passion is in Revolt. Now, where do you think that comes from? Like, and what are you trying to accomplish with that?
Yeah, so my life mission that I say often, my life mission statement, I've kind of summed it up into one sentence. We have it for our business, we have core values, all these things. And for me, I did it for myself too, and we teach it at the retreats, and you've seen it. You know, for me, it's integrity, leadership, legacy, and for me, it's to develop millions of leaders that go on to impact billions of lives. So to do that, I've got to reach a bunch of people, right? You know, that's a lofty goal, and a lot of people might hear that and say, "This dude's a moron. He's never going to achieve that." Well, I'd rather miss, you know, by a little bit having that big goal than setting a small goal. If I'm going to impact 10,000 people, if I have another 50 years in me, I'd like to think that I'd be able to do that. But Revolt is that vehicle, you know, through the retreats, through the coaching program. You know, we just launched the coaching program. Did you see JP got certified today? Yeah, he took his test this morning. He's certified. So it's just developing the leaders so that if I die tomorrow, man, like this is so important to me. I tell people legacy is that main driving factor for me. And it really is. If I die tomorrow, if I die on the plane going home today, I want to make sure that Revolt doesn't die. Everything that we've created, the exercises, the experiences, it doesn't die. I want people like you to be able to go out there and make an impact still. It doesn't have to be a hunter. My face doesn't have to be on it. My name doesn't have to be on it. I just want the impact made. To me, that's what legacy is not my name on a building. It's not how much money I left my kids in the bank account, inheritance. It is the impact I make after I'm gone, whether they know my name or not, have seen my face or not, read my book or not. I'm continuing to make an impact because I poured into this guy and he poured into this guy, and now he's teaching this guy.
That sounds like a very selfless act, because you figure by the time it reaches that third person, they're not even going to know where that message came from. Now, where does that come from? Where does that drive to want to impact that many people? Like, did something happen in your childhood, or people, I don't think yes, people are born with a big heart and kind and giving and caring and things like that. But where has that drive come from? Like, why would you want to do something like that?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about everybody else? You know what I'm saying? But like, where does that come from?
Yeah, I don't think that it's, you know, I'm such a good guy or anything. I think it's that I find my significance in helping other people. You know, I realized that throughout my 20s. I'm 32 now. I just turned 32. And I found that throughout my 20s. When I was 20 years old, all I was focused on, Ty, was making $1 million.
Right.
I said thousands of times to so many people, I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. I'm going to be a millionaire by 30. And I believed it. I believed it. And I had to hit it because I felt like I had to prove people wrong. I had a point to prove. And so when I started, man, it was about the money. It was about proving a point, and it was about freedom. That's the only one that I feel like was somewhat noble, is freedom. You know, prove a point, money, whatever. That's probably the wrong reason to do something, but it worked for me for a season. Yeah. And then as I started to build the team at Cornerstone, as we started to grow and get dozens of reps, everything changed. You know, It became about I call it the shift from income to impact. So now it became not, hey, I want to be a millionaire. I want to impact 1 million people, and I want to help my team become millionaires.
Yes.
And to see their lives change, see them be able to build their dream house on their dream property, to pay off debt, to buy the car they want, dude, there's nothing better than that. There is literally nothing better than that.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And we talk about that all the time. And you have definitely been a huge influence in my life in helping me gain clarity on not just what to impact, but who, but how. How can I make an impact on whether it be our community, our team, our industry? Like, you, just so you know that, and you can ask Jana this, that you've had a huge impact on my life, our lives, and whether our team knows it or not, you have had a huge impact on them. So what you're doing is working, and like I was talking about that clarity. Not that we weren't already on the path to that, but there's certain influences I feel that are put in your life to help gain clarity on certain things, because it's like, I know I'm on a mission, but sometimes I just don't know what that mission is, right? And sometimes I get distracted, but I need put back on track. And for me, that's what Revolt has done, whether it be through the group chats and stuff. And I know I don't participate that much, but I can't help but read every single thing that's in there because I get notifications every 2.3 seconds, right? But I just want you to know that impact is working, that compounding impact that you have created with so many people's lives, that, and this is so crazy because I was talking to somebody. We're getting ready to, I was reminded today, I got a call from our local builders association that we're pretty involved with. Each year for the past 3 years, I think 2 or 3 years, we've won what's called the Peak Achievement Awards for, oh man, I can't remember the actual name of basically doing so much within our community, right? So I got a call today reminding me, hey, are you going to submit your whatever it is that you're going to submit into the Peak Achievement Awards? And I was like, there are so many things that we've done that sometimes I need reminded of that impact that we have on so many people's lives. And I was talking to someone, they're like, well, don't forget about the 20,000 diapers that you guys donated to the Well Food Bank. Don't forget about the 800 people that you fed Thanksgiving Eve in New York City. Don't forget about that roof that you donated to Roofers in Recovery, or the roof that you put on Christmas Attic building, and all these things. And it's like, I know I'm not even mentioning half of that, and I'm not saying that to blow my head up. I'm saying that because I need to remind myself sometimes, because I am my own worst critic. And not to get off topic here, but it's like the impact that we have on people's lives, we forget about that. And there's only you either have that it, or you don't have that it. And I think that was where I was trying to get with you, is like, where does that it for you? Did something happen?
Yeah, I'll elaborate on it. I'll elaborate on it even more. Again, I don't want to sound all noble, like, oh, I care about significance and my legacy and whatever. Ultimately, what it comes down to is I didn't feel significant when I was young. My parents were both meth addicts, and it split my family apart. And I was just searching for a feeling of significance. I wanted to feel important. I wanted to feel like somebody loved me. I wanted to feel respected as a kid. I talk about, as silly as it sounds, when you're a kid playing baseball, what do you want? You want a trophy. You want the game ball. You want your grandpa to be proud and give you a $20 bill because you hit a home run. You want to feel significant, right? Like that's all of us at our core. And for me, it was maybe even more extreme. Like, I was always looking for that, someone to tell me I was good enough. And I found that when I was young through titles a lot. Titles, being the president of American Red Cross. I was the president of Beta Club. I was in student council. I had to do all these different things to feel good enough. And I did that up until I was in my 20s, mid-20s too. It just became more about money than a title. You could even say a title being a business owner, because I wanted to prove the ex-girlfriend's dad wrong, that, hey, I am good enough. I'm not going to be like my parents. And it just shifted over time. But it started because of just, lack of self-worth. And we all deal with that. And it's easy to be like, oh, I'm over that. It is just us as humans at our core. It is. All of us deal with it. All of us deal with it. I know you deal with it, and you have a bunch of successful businesses. People see me from the outside. They think, oh, this conference is huge. Roofing.com's huge. Cornerstone's great. Revolt's killing it. Dude, it's tough. There's daily self-doubt, questioning yourself. should I be doing this? Am I the one to lead this? Why not someone else? It's just who we are as humans.
Yes. We're our own worst critics. That's for damn sure.
And I think there's probably something wrong with you if you don't question yourself, right?
yes,
Like maybe if you're, and this might get too political, but if you're Trump and you're just so arrogant, you think you don't do anything wrong. And look, I voted for Trump, but
yeah,
you get what I'm saying, right?
I do.
Like
I do.
I think to have a little bit of self-awareness and question yourself is a good thing.
Humility and remaining humble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not forgetting where you come from, because it sounds like, not that I grew up with that past, but it's not like any of this was handed to us. We've earned this. We've worked for this. And maybe earn was the wrong interpretation people might take for earn. That's not what I meant. I meant is that, we put in the hard work to get where we're at. And are we successful at all times? No, but we've learned through our trials and errors. We've remained humbled and not, Jen Silver told me something yesterday, and it's one of those things again, I needed to remind it. She's like, Ty, for someone, she's met a lot of people, and so have you, and you fit within this category. She said, you were probably one of the most humble people that I've ever met, being at the scale that you're at. And it's like, it almost choked me up like it is right now, because it's like, I don't want to ever forget where I come from.
Love that.
You know what I mean? And my final thing is that I met, it was about 4:30 in the morning at my hotel, and I kind of woke up insecure. And it's funny you talked about that, right? Because I suffer from insecurity, a lack of self-esteem, things just like anybody else does. I think the only difference is that I've learned to cope with it and walk through it, knowing that if I can walk through this, I'll feel better about myself, or whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. But the irony of this is that I went outside. It was about 4:30 in the morning, and I go and I sit down on the bench, and I smoked a cigarette, just so this gentleman.
We're working on it.
Yes, we are. I'm getting better at it. I've probably only smoked 6 cigarettes today, maybe.
That's good. You're at 2 packs a day, right?
Yeah.
So we're coming down.
So big time coming down. So this gentleman walks up to me, and he wasn't scary. And it's 4:30 in the morning downtown Dallas here, and he wasn't scary looking. And he said something. I couldn't hear what he said because I can't hear out of my right side. So I was like, "Excuse me, do you need a cigarette?" I just assumed he needed a cigarette. So I got up off the bench and I opened up my pack, and he was like, "No." He said, "I'm hungry." He said, "I'm hungry, man." He's like, "I'll take anything you got." So, of course, I'm not scared at this point in time because I'm feeling this dude. You know what I mean? Because I was homeless at one point in time over the years ago, thank God. And it's the irony that I gave him money, gave him a cigarette, man, and he hugged me. He hugged me. You could tell he was getting welled up. He took about 5 steps. He turned around, man. He was like, "Thank you. Thank you." You could just tell he was just down on his luck, right? So the irony of that is I woke up feeling a little insecure, but the moral of the story is don't forget where you come from, Bum. And it's so ironic how God places things, people, and places in your life for those little God. I call them God shots.
Yeah.
Like I had a little God shot yesterday morning because, I question myself at times, am I doing the right thing? Like, what the fuck are we doing? And why the fuck are we doing this? Right? Pardon my French, anyone that's listening, but it's like, this is real. I mean, like, why? Like, it's like you wake up and reality once in a while kicks in. And not that I live out in a fantasy world, but like reality almost kicks in. Like there's people that rely on us. Their families rely on us. And it's like, am I the right man for this job? Have I overstepped my limits? Have I outgrown my britches? Am I making the wrong decisions at times? And I had one of those moments yesterday morning, and I had shared that with Jen. And I shared a little bit about that story with that gentleman that I met yesterday morning. And that's when she told me, she's like, "Ty, I got to tell you something." She's like, "You were one of the most humblest people." And it's like, don't forget where you come from, Bum. And that's, if anyone out there that's listening that, and we get it. Sometimes I can walk around with my head this big, but believe me, ego, and I call it edging God out, right? Sometimes I'll allow my ego to get in the way. I'll make poor decisions. I'll say stupid things. I'll post stupid things. Yeah. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's like, we all do it. And it's like, but we almost need a little bit of that to be who we are, for that passion, that love. And really what it comes down to, it's the passion for what we do and the impact that we're having on people's lives. It's like, it's a good thing. And I don't know, I think my mom is who instilled that passion of caring and giving for people, and maybe so much to the point where it's too much. And it's because for me, I've my entire life I have this God-shaped hole in me that I've tried to fill up with instant gratification things, right? Whether it be fast cars, fast women, all the whatever stuff, that instant gratification stuff that my entire life that I tried to fill this God-shaped vacuum up with. Now today, and when you were speaking, I was thinking to myself, Hunter, when you're talking about having impact and that ripple effect, that compounding impact that you talked about, right? That's you filling that God-shaped void. And it's not instant gratification stuff. That is long, life-changing impact, ripple effect that you're filling up with that God-shaped vacuum that we all have, but we just don't even know we have it, and we're trying to fill it up with a bunch of trash. So,
And you talking about the homeless guy, that story. I mean, you really answered your own question when you asked me about why do we do what we do.
Yeah.
To be able to do that, to be able to give to who we want, when we want, where we want, and not have to worry about it.
Right.
Not have to feel like it's a burden to ourselves, or let me actually check the bank account real quick, or we don't have to worry about it. We can just give and be at peace with it, and it feels good. It feels great.
Yes.
One thing I tell myself all the time, I'm sure you've heard me say this because I say it in one of my speeches a lot, is others won't, so I must. Others won't, so I must. That's one of my reasons why I do what I do is because if someone else won't put in the work so they can give the money to the homeless guy, I'll work a little bit harder so I can do it. So others won't, so I must.
Love that. No, that's good stuff there. So, all right. So where are you at now with everything, man? I know you kind of gave us a quick recap of, where Revolt is. And so is Revolt going to be at the Orange County Convention Center?
Yeah, RoofCon will be at the Orange County Convention Center again, November 9th through the 11th this year. Diego, came on full time, came back as CEO of RoofCon, got some really good things happening. We've already got a few of the big name speakers locked in, and we're slowly announcing those. Again, we're expecting 250, 280 vendors this year, 5,000 plus attendees. And just got some new stuff we're mixing in. Before you'd have to go outside of the vendor hall to go to the breakouts. Now we're doing them in the hall. We're actually setting up breakout rooms in the hall so everyone can just stay there and the vendors can get more action. Just a lot of little things like that. So we're excited that the days are a little bit longer than they were last year. 3 full days again. We're going back to that model. So it's going to be fun. We're really excited about it. And Revolt, same old with Revolt. Running the retreats. We have 2 retreats coming up back to back. You came to the 2022 back-to-back retreats. We've done that every year for a few years in a row. And you talk about just exhausting, man. When I get done with those 2 back-to-back retreats, I'm ready to go to sleep for a week. Yes. Just because it's so emotionally draining, because we're pouring in, we want to make a difference. And so we have 2 of those coming up. We have our member retreat coming up. We have our couples retreat coming up, which is always a good time. We'll see if we can hook anyone else up at our couples retreat.
Yeah, that's got to become a thing now. So going back to the couples retreat and why it's so special for Hunter, myself, Jana, and RD. So because of Hunter, now I'm going to tell the whole story. Do you care? Not the whole story, but I made the mistake at the free retreat of mentioning, of talking to Hunter, I think just on a personal note, about how Jan and I haven't been married. And so since that time, now he didn't ride my ass a whole lot, but every now and then he'd throw me a little message every now and then. So did you ask her? Did you ask her? And of course I'm like, no, I didn't. And that it wasn't too annoying yet until we got closer to the couples retreat. And then he was like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it at the couples retreat? And I was like, no, we're not going to do it. So then when we get to the couples retreat,
you're missing a part.
Okay, go ahead.
You're missing a part. He came to South Carolina, and in my office, you said you were going to do it. So at that point, you released the trigger. It was like, all right, I'm going to hold him accountable now. That was it.
Yes. No, I forgot about that. I drove the whole way to his office for about 12 hours and turned around and went home to get my ass busted by him. No, there were some other things. That was a reason why. There was another reason why we went down there. And then anyhow, so we're at the couples retreat and we're doing this game. What is it? What game was it? Why don't you tell a story where Jana and them had to leave the room? This is where it really got I think stupid.
It was
For
just
me.
couples trivia. So
Yes.
at our retreats, we have like a tribe model. So we split up teams and make it competitive. And we had each team pick 5 couples, and then we would ask questions. So they were one of the couples. And from there you can tell the rest of it.
So Jana leaves the room, all the guys stay in the room, and the girls leave the room, and they're asking us these random questions. And there was a question that came up about our relationship, and I said it was complicated. And everybody was kind of looked at me weird, I guess. And then the guys get off stage, the women come back in, they get on stage. Well, they asked Jana the same question. Her response was the same exact answer. It's complicated. Well, everybody thought we were married up until this point, because they're like, what do you mean it's complicated? What does that mean exactly? So after the event, the exercise, we go outside of the amphitheater that we were in, and RD walked up to me. He was like, aren't you guys married? And I was like, no, we're not married. And I think everybody there thought we were married because we're a couple. I mean, we've been together forever, over a decade. And so he had asked me if we wanted to get married. I was like, no way, Jose. But anyhow, throughout the course of the week, even prior to that, he's shooting me messages. Every time he sees me, he's like, so you're going to pop the question? You're going to pop the question? I'm like, no. He's standing behind Jana saying, I could see he's talking to somebody. Actually went and bought me a wedding ring for her. Okay. At this point in time, I'm sick on my stomach. I'm like rethinking Jana and I's relationship. Like, have I wasted this girl's life because I'm not committing to marrying her? Like, do I leave her? Do I do this? I was like, dude, I had such a headache. I left. I went to the room and I stayed in the room for about 3 hours. I was like, honey, I just don't feel good. She has no idea up until this point in time, no idea what's going on. Now, Mullen's riding my ass. Bob's riding my ass. Hunter's riding my ass. And I think Mullins could see that I was getting a little frustrated. So he backed off a little bit. But because of Mullins and what's his significant other's name? Tori. Yes. So long story short here, I'm not telling the story very well, I feel like, because I'm all jacked up here a little bit. But and there was a lot going on.
Yeah, it was the last night.
Yeah.
The last night we were doing like a party, kind of send off party with everybody. And we have the tribe model, right?
Yeah.
So we come down to the end. I'm calculating all the points to see which tribe won.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it came down to 2 being tied. And we're like, well, shoot, what are we going to do? Like, it's the end of the night. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so we decided to do a rap off. So they had to create a rap about each other's team and diss each other. And whatever team won, I don't even remember. I think it was C team won.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mullins comes up to me and he's like, hey, man, we're ready to do it. We're ready to get married. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not doing this. You're drunk. He's like, I'm not drunk. I swear to God, I'm not drunk. Tori wants to do it too. And so she comes over. She's like, we're serious. We want to do it. RD said he'd do it. So we all go over to this little arbor thing, or whatever you call it, on the beach.
Yep.
And sure enough, we do it. And I'll never forget, like, we do it. Everybody's clapping, excited. Kind of settles down. I start walking away. I get like 100 yards away, and everybody starts screaming, Hunter, come back. Ty's getting married. I'm like, get the freak out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That was an awesome moment.
It was an awesome moment. So we saw it on Facebook. I think Brandon Allen, one of them, went live, and I saw it, and I saw Jana's face, because she looked over my shoulder and she could see they were on the beach getting married. And I looked at her and I could see her face. And this is very emotional for me. And I could see that she looked sad. And I was like, do you want to do it? And she's like, no. I'm like, come on, let's go do it. And she's like, no, you don't want to do it. I'm like, listen, I want to do this. If we don't do this now, we probably won't ever do this. And so she was like, you know where they're at? I said, I know exactly where they're at. Dude, we were hurdling bushes. I mean, running through, to get to everybody. And then it was Brandon, I think. He was like, he went live again. He's like, I can't believe it, but Ty Backer's getting married on live. And it was such a great experience. And I owe all of that to the Revolt group. The impact that it has had on my life is unmeasurable. And there's no monetary value that I could put on that. So if anyone out there is like wondering or debating if they should join a mastermind group or accountability or anything like that, listen, I'm probably one of the oldest guys in this group, and being as egotistical as a person that I am, I'm thinking, what could anyone do to possibly or tell me that I don't already know or haven't done yet or whatever. One of the greatest things that I have ever done was join the Revolt group because of the accountability, because I really think a lot of times people, at least in my organization, has issues saying certain things to me. But this guy right here has no problem calling me out or holding me accountable. Besides Vic and a couple other people, you know what I mean? But on that type of level, because I've shared things with him that I probably wouldn't share with other people either, because I feel so confident and comfortable with you. But what it has done for me is he knows, because he's been in my shoes, or vice versa, of being an entrepreneur and the financial stresses and taking care of other people's lives and children and things like that. Unless you've done it, you don't understand what that can do to a man mentally, right? And for you to call me out on my shit, and there was a couple other things along the line, smoking and stuff like that. And I know it's tough love when you ride my ass, just because you love me. But if anyone has ever been in question if they should join a mastermind group, I highly recommend, and I'm not even trying to plug you right now. I just know that we wouldn't be where we're at in the short amount of time that we've been members of the Revolt group. So much has changed in my life, whether it be the clear direction of the impact and how I want to impact people's lives, the love and the marriage and that with Jana that we've got to experience, the people, whether it be JP, whether it be Mullins, Bob Holt, that camaraderie and that fellowship that I've experienced with other entrepreneurs, other like-minded people who know the struggles and the pains and the stressors that I do, to be able to open up freely in our group chats and our circle that we have at the retreats, I mean, has been life-changing, not just business. We're not even talking about business. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm rambling on here, but I need you to know, because, and I know we're on Facebook Live, and I'm not just doing this because we're on Facebook Live. We just don't get this time together like we have today for a while. Anyhow, we haven't had it, but I just want you to know the impact that you've had on my life, and not that I'm anything special, but if he can do it for a knucklehead like me, and it's not just you, it's everybody else. Like you said, it's not the Hunter Blue show. It's everyone that I've met that believes in you and the things and the progress that you've made has changed my life. You can't put a monetary value on that. So thank you.
We've said way too much about me. Let's talk about you. You never get to talk about you on this show. It's always about the other people. What's up with Lead Scout? I know you guys just dropped the Android app. Yeah.
Yes.
Is that exciting?
Yes, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, I just found out about it this morning when I got the email. So I don't know a whole lot about it yet. I mean, Chris, my best friend Chris over there, got a little red in the face because I was probably the last one to find out about it. But they have been a great team and a great partner of ours over here at TC Backer Construction. And again, Joe and Chris have played a good, huge part. And again, this isn't just on a business aspect of things. Chris and I have had some really heart-to-heart conversations about uncomfortability, and things that us entrepreneurs experience that other people and everyone experience pain and trauma and things like that experiences in their life. But to be able to open up, Chris has become not just a friend or a commandant, but just a friend, a true brother. And the product that they have has changed our business as well. And I love talking about it, and I could continue to go on, and I got bright ideas, and I see Miller's Roofing up there. Steven Spence, my man. That's one of our local competitors. Is he here? Never mind. I won't go there. Anyhow, I lost train of thought. But anyhow, okay, so Lead Scout. So it's much more than just direct mail.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there for the longest time, a lot of people thought that it was just a direct mail.
But it was originally, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was, and it is, but it does so much more than that. Right now, it's a canvassing app, and what it has done for our company is so each time that we get a lead that comes in from wherever it comes in at, it generates 10 to 20 addresses of owner-occupied houses with their name, their address. So when the team goes out there, we get a stack of Post-it notes that has whatever we want it put on there. Where, yeah, let me see those Post-it notes with a QR code on it. But what's going to be even more ingenious about this is, so our sales team goes out there, they canvass the area with these. These come from Lead Scout. They go out there and say, hey, I'm Joe Blow with TC Backer Construction. We're doing a house in your neighborhood. If you would like a free quote, give us a call. So within the app, then he can qualify that home. So you can qualify or disqualify the home and know, and you can put a tag and a note in there that states that he put a Post-it note on that door, right? And at that time, when you qualify the home, you can also launch a mail campaign, which typically we do what's called a drip campaign. 2 postcards. Yep, here's some postcards. 2 postcards and a handwritten
I
note.
feel like what's that chick on Price is Right? Vanna
White.
Wheel of Fortune?
There you go, Vanna White. Yeah. So these are the handwritten notes. So who wouldn't open that up?
Yeah.
So, and I also
Is
want
it
to.
the machine? Does it do the machine?
No, these Chris, his mom was handwriting these. Yeah,
Better give
each
that
one.
lady a raise.
Right?
My wife, man, we did so many of these. Oh,
Chris, would you like to talk more about it, or? Okay, so I'm going to plug Roofle. I'm just going to plug Roofle because what we're going to start doing with Roofle. So with partnering with Lead Scout and Roofle.
So this customer's actually using Roofle right
Oh,
now.
I'm jealous because I thought I came up with this idea. So Roofle, what Roofle has right now is the Roof Pro Quote or Roof Quote Pro. Roof Quote Pro. Okay, so basically if you hit this with your camera, right, it'll populate to a landing page, which then you can put your information in there and it'll bring your house up and give you a quote within 30 seconds. Okay, so if you put these on these Post-it notes or these handwritten notes or postcards, you don't even, the homeowner can just get a quote in 30 seconds. So our idea is to put that on all of our Post-it notes, all of our yard signs, on our trucks, everything. So I just think that's revolutionary to our roofing industry because most things are e-commerce except the roofing industry right now. I think you can buy pants, you can buy your groceries, you can buy everything online except a roof until today.
it's good, dude. It's
awesome. Yes.
So you use this with TC Backer pretty actively, right?
Yes.
How many markets are you guys in now?
Right now we're in 6.
6 markets.
7.
And you're looking to go Charlotte,
7.
some others?
Yeah, Charlotte, Mississippi, Texas, Grand Rapids.
Yeah. What did that evolution look like? When did you start TC Backer?
Back in 2008.
2008. That's a great year to start a roofing.
Yep, it was. It was. Right now would be a great time to start one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the recession?
Yeah, it is. You learn how to do a lot with little.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
A lot of people you talk to would give you the excuse that that's why they went out of business or didn't start or whatever. So I love that mindset. So 08, you started in Dover, just Dover,
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Would you open your first additional office?
We opened up our first additional office probably. We leased the building probably about 2 years ago, and about a year ago we actually hired our first people.
Really? So like 13 years before you opened a second office?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Now we moved several times. So TC Backer Construction started in my living room. I worked full time banging shingles. I hired my best friend at the time. His name's Perry, who still actually works for us. He came in 2-3 days a week to start helping me. About a year or two into it, I just needed help.
Yeah.
Right. I was working 16 hours a day. I would work 12 hours a day on the roof. I'd come back. I'd clean up the paperwork for another 4, 5, 6 hours a day. So I was getting burnt out. And this was 7 days a week. So I hired Perry. Perry would come in literally and sit it on the couch in my living room at the coffee table, paying invoices, just trying to just help me clean up the paperwork because I was a mess. Still am half the time. And then that was my first 2 unit that I ever bought. I got into real estate early too. So that was the first 2 unit that I bought. So the first floor, when I bought that building, there was a previous tenant that lived there at the time. So they moved out. So then we converted so I could just get some separation, moved our business to the front room on the first floor. At that point in time, I think Jana and I had been together for about a year or so. So she had quit her job and came to work for me full time as well to help Perry in the office, because within that first 12 months, we landed some investors that were flipping homes and stuff because of the recession and stuff like that. They were taking off at that point in time. A couple new construction builders. I was doing mostly all the sales on the retail side of things myself. I had at that time brought on two more laborers. And then we ended up several years later moving out to Dover because at this time we lived in New York City. Moved out there. Bought it was 37 and 39 North Main Street. 37 was an old barber shop. We converted that into our office. We hired Kim. That was probably 9-10 years ago. I think Kim's been with us about 10 years now, who's now our CFO. Moved her into that office, quickly outgrew that. I wanted to build a pole barn out back, but it wasn't for personal use. So they wanted $15,000 for just a land development plan. So then that's when we moved into the building that we're in now. Long story short, several years later, we're actually looking to move again now because we've outgrown that building, which is 6,000 square foot buildings. So we're moving out of that. We bought another building, which I was able to cash out, refi some of my rental properties, get the cash out of them. I bought this commercial building, which then we're going to cash that out, get that cash back. So we essentially end up with a free building that we're getting ready to move into, hopefully in the next 30 or 60 days.
What size is it?
That's 5,700 square feet, and just for admin and sales over there. All production's going to stay over where we're at now.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and then 2 years ago, we opened up, or about a year ago, we opened up our second location down in what we call the Delmarva, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area that handles that entire Delmarva Peninsula area. And now from there, we manage 6 to 7 other states between, sometimes we got to drive a little bit, but that's why we're trying to pop up these satellite offices. And that's why processes and procedures are so essential for us to be able to do things like that.
That's good, brother.
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been busy the last couple of years.
We have been.
Offices. And I know you got a bunch more coming. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool to see just the progression of like, hey, look, you don't have to do it all in your first couple of years. Sure, you might be able to, but you should build out some systems and processes. And you could attest to this. You're going to break them as you add on to the company, not just revenue wise, but people wise, having more employees, having more roles, having more offices. Like, you're just going to continue to break it. You're never there. You've never arrived. You've never reached the mountaintop. You're going to have to continue to improve.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. We constantly say we've boldly gone where no man has gone before, at least me. Right. And up until several years ago, I mean, there wasn't the Facebook groups. There wasn't. And that may have been one of the well, I can tell you why it may have taken me longer than most people in the industry, is because I had trouble letting go. So I would say, I don't know, the first 7-8 years, I handled everything, ordering the materials, doing the work, hiring, firing. I mean, I did everything. I had learned that I became the bottleneck and that I was the one holding the company back from growth, because here I'm like, grow. But meanwhile, here I'm slowing the business down from growth because I kept thinking, God, there's just not enough hours in the day. And then I'll be honest with you, my mental health and physical health started to suffer, from that. And I remember I had a conversation with Jana and my mom one night. We went out to dinner and I kind of just broke down. Like, I can't do this anymore. And Jana was like, you just need to hire someone to do these things. And then
how long ago was this?
I want to say that was probably 5 or 6 years ago. Like, really not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really, because Chris Baker's been with us now. Now, we had several people between then and now. Not a whole lot of people, but I went through, like, I needed like a general manager, right? And I went through a couple people that just didn't fit that profile. But when I found that right person that I could rely on and share pertinent information with, it seemed like we had grown exponentially, but it had also allowed me to get about 100 feet back, not quite 10,000 foot view, but enough to stand back and realize, okay, Christ, I'm still doing 15 things that will actually be 12 full-time jobs for people.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes I struggle with certain things because it's like, guys, you realize I used to always do all of this. myself, but half-ass.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
Hardest thing to do, but as soon as you give it up, you just
Yes.
rocket
Just
ship.
yes, it was a rocket
It is
ship.
tough. And then there's the other side of that as an entrepreneur, business owner, and I struggle with this. I told you RD called me
Mhm.
and we were talking about this. For me, one of the hardest things is feeling guilty about not doing enough because I feel like I'm always the
All
one
the time.
pointing the finger, delegating, getting other people to, do the work.
Mhm.
And then I feel guilty because I'm like, man, I should be doing some of that. But I know when I really sit back and think about it and I listen to the people that coach me,
Mhm.
I'm doing a disservice to our team if I'm spending my time on that stuff. I should be doing the more strategic things, building relationships, higher level things. But doesn't mean I don't still beat myself up about it. Like I always feel like I have to explain to the team, like, hey, it's not because I don't want to work. I'll do the work, I'll help, I'll freaking sweep the floors, take out the trash, whatever. But I know where I'm most needed and most valuable to this team.
Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough to not feel guilty because especially when you're doing everything early on and then you delegate that task to somebody else. And I feel the same guilt. That's why I think I work so hard on this with the team. And we just talked about this earlier. I still believe in being the first one there and the last one to leave. And whether that's small thinking or not, when I get back home from this, I will be the first. Well, now I'm like the third or fourth one there because I am not getting up any earlier to be the first one there. But we set that example early on. Like that's the normal. Like no one knows what else to expect other than that's just the time of day that we start and that's when we go home. But I firmly believe you got to lead by example. You got to be the first one there and the last one to leave, even though I don't do that so much now. But the leaders that we have in place, that's all they knew when they first started working for us. So that's Glenn's role. Glenn's one of the first people there that's at the office, unless he's got gallivanting with me, but yet he's still one of the first ones up when we're on the road. But he was the one that sat in on the Tuesday morning business meeting. I didn't feel obligated. Why? Because I knew Glenn was there. There was other things that I needed to take care of with whatever it was that I was doing yesterday at 7:30. But I think if we lead by example, and it's funny because they know that I beat myself up, but they're the ones like, go home or shut up or stop. We got this. We got this. And I feel like when they know that you trust them enough that they can do it, they're going to do a better job, opposed to me standing behind them micromanaging, because we all know when someone's micromanaging you, it affects your workability to begin with. And they need to know they need to make mistakes. And I need to accept that.
Yeah.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
In itself right there.
Yeah, Craig Rochelle talks about it all the time. They may be 80% of what you are in this specific task right now, but if you let them take over that task, in 6 months' time, they're going to be 110% of how good you are. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 18 months, but at some point you just got to let it go and know that. And for me, it's like design work or social media or just little small things. I was just telling Diego, like at our booth, I walked up. As soon as I walked up, I saw the spin wheel. They got a spin wheel and it's got all these prizes, right, for us to do giveaways. I bit my tongue and I was like, all right, I'm not going to say anything right now because I don't want to be a dick as soon as I walk up and say, this looks like crap. Like we can do better. But I want what's best for our team. I want to be the best, the first to win, best in class. And so I waited. About an hour later, I pulled him aside. I'm like, hey, man, next event, let's make sure we get this thing prettied up, because they had like written on it with Expo marking. It just looked, it didn't look like it was the best. And I said, let's get some nice graphics printed up and stick it on there, print it on there, whatever we need to do. But there's plenty of times I'm like, man, I want to tippy toe around it because I don't want them to feel like I'm getting on to them all the time.
Yes.
But I also want them to know it is only because I want to win. I don't care whose idea it is, if it's mine or yours. I just want to be the best.
Yeah.
That's all that matters to me.
For sure. And I think it's our job too, to learn, and we're not perfect about this, but accountability, kind candor, learning how to be delicate with situations like that.
Tact.
Yeah. Right. And because we've learned from experience that we've walked in, they said everything. They're the ones that did all the work, but then we roll in there and be like, that looks like shit. That looks like shit. This needs moved out of the way. You got to learn how to be tactful with that. You need to come in on an angle. And if you can get real good at it, they'll even think it was their idea.
Yeah. And even just some of the language of how you position it, how you say it, like, hey, we need to do better at X. I might not even have been involved with getting the wheel
Mhm.
or setting up the thing, but we need to do better. Not, hey, your ass needs to do better. You need
Yeah.
to make that look better. It looks like crap. No, we need to do better as a team
Mhm.
because ultimately I'm a part of the team. And I think it makes them feel more level with you, not like you're talking down to them.
Yeah, of course. And then that's the thing too, is giving up some of that control, allowing them to make those decisions, right? Because if we don't pass the torch on to somebody else, we're going to still be stuck doing it ourselves, right? And if we're downgrading them or looking down on our nose or making them feel less than, how are they going to perform? They're going to perform poorly because they're going to be walking on eggshells. Oh my God, when he's going to get here, he's going to probably nitpick the shit out of everything. But when you empower them to make decisions on their own, because it is our job to not teach them what to think, but how to think when we're not there, especially when we're not there, right? You know what I mean? And if you can get them to that point, and it doesn't happen overnight, and they got to learn to trust you too, and I have to learn to trust them, and that's probably the biggest thing is trust. I know at this point in time, and I'm just going to use this podcast as an example, I know I don't have to know everything that goes on here. Can I? Will I? Should I? No, I don't. I mean, I can. I'm smart enough. It's not that I'm not smart enough. And you touched on this earlier. It's like, you're doing a disservice for everyone else here. Like, I need to be networking and over here talking to someone when Javi's adjusting the lens on those things. And every now and then I got to walk over there and say, hey man, something just doesn't look right. What do you think it is? And that's me being in my way of like not being a dick or down.
One of the biggest realizations I've had in the last 18 months is, as an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, leader, want to be the best, winner, competitor.
Mm-hmm.
We really want to work hard. We want to come in early, stay late, do all the things, but ultimately is exactly what you're saying is like, we have to be willing to give up some of that responsibility to the team and not just take over, because I'm for sure guilty of that. Like it's easy to want to just come in and take over and make it your way. But it's not. It's not.
No, and then
the
if you're in growth mode, there's no way that you're going to be able to grow if I continue to act that way or do those certain things. Like, this thing would not be like this if I was trying to do all of this. I couldn't, just as little as setting the scaffolding up. I can't do this by myself. Any of this I couldn't do by myself. Vic and these guys, they're driving here. I drove to Orlando the other week, but then, not to sound stupid, I found driving to Orlando and back, I said to myself halfway up the road, it's like, there's a lot more things that I could have accomplished in 14 hours than just driving. Like, it just didn't make sense. But I also wanted them to know that I would do it too.
Yeah.
Whether it gained more respect from my team or not, I don't know. But it's like, I wouldn't ask you to do something if I wouldn't do it myself. So I bit the bullet. I drove the whole way to Orlando and I drove back. Just to get that experience myself. Like, I'm in this with you guys, and sometimes we have to do things like that too. Sometimes we have to get in the trenches to earn that respect, especially on the production side of things. The production side of things, the guys that are actually out in the trenches doing things, is a different mentality than your admin or sales. Like, there's different unspoken rules or things out over there than there is in the production side of things. Like, you have to handle them differently. I mean, they judge people, at least I did when I was on the production side of things. We judged people on how well they swung a hammer, right? A salesperson doesn't think like that. Okay. So there's different things that you have to do in order to gain respect or trust or whatever like that. But when you're out in the field and you do things, you can gain such a respect from your team if you jump up on that scaffolding or on that roof and bang a couple shingles or hang a couple pieces of siding with your teams, in order to let them know, like, hey, I can do this too. So maybe if I do come out on a job site and I say, hey, I don't think that looks right, they're going to take what I say into consideration at least. Yeah, and I still enjoy that. I still drive a pickup truck with a ladder on it.
Right.
I'm a redneck. I can't help it. You can take the neck out of the red, but you can't take the neck out. I don't even know what the hell I'm trying to say, but
yeah, you can take a redneck out of, I think it's supposed to be like the country, but you can't take the country out of a redneck.
There you go. Something like that. You know what I mean? You can get the roofer off the roof, but you can't take the roofer out of the roof. How's that sound?
Yeah, there we go.
Something like that.
Yeah, quote it.
Yeah. but you know, I enjoy that production side of things is where I came from. I grew up swinging a hammer, and that's my favorite part of it. That's why I always say it all the time. I build shit. I build teams, I build relationships, I build companies. It's no different than me building a roof. I look at there's a process that it takes in order to build a roof, to build a team, or to build a company. It's no, in my eyes, it's really no different. There's a process that you have to follow if you want a good result at the end.
It's good, brother.
Yeah.
Good.
So anyhow, is that a good place to wrap this up? You got to catch a
It's been
flight.
good. Yeah, I gotta get home and see those
We
babies.
hope you have
Yeah,
a great
man.
day at the
Hey, did you
International
hear that
Roofing
beep
Expo.
like
The
10 minutes
show
ago?
floor
Yeah.
is
It was an
now
Amber alert on my
closed.
phone. I just
Okay.
saw it. Yeah. I was
Okay.
like,
I was looking over there
I
because
saw your eyes and I was like, I'm hearing it too.
Is that a fire alarm going off in here or what?
No.
Okay, cool. But no, what a great episode. Thank you for coming on the show. I definitely want you to come back on the show. I look forward to the couples retreat. I look forward to our next Revolt retreat. You're doing great shit. Everybody knows you're doing great shit. For those few that might hate you, and that's just because they're jealous of what you're trying to do. And you, because you're so successful in what you're doing, and you are very successful, whether you know it or not. And I'm not talking about that on a monetary level. I'm talking about the impact that you're having on so many people's lives, thousands of people's lives. You came out with a book. And it's funny because we sat at that lunch with everybody down there in South Carolina. Instead of handing business cards out, I'm the only guy sitting at the table that don't have a book to hand out as a business card. So that's my warning to you all. I'm getting ready to write a book.
Let's go. What's the deadline?
2025.
2025.
Yeah.
Like January 1st, 2025?
Sure.
First draft?
First draft. As long as we
Published.
can do talk to text.
No, let's do published.
Okay.
I got a connection for you that's coming to the members retreat on selfpublishing.com. Chandler Bolt.
Okay.
Can help you self-publish.
Okay.
Get it ranked.
Yeah, because I need a business card.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I do want to ask this question. Again, you don't ever get to answer this fun stuff. So as we wrap this up, tell me, just because I've never asked you this before, what is your mission for this podcast? What do you hope to accomplish by doing these?
Right now the mission is to give educational and entertain a platform for us to educate and entertain our industry, and also give it a platform for people like you to spread the message or the word to have impact on people's lives. It's not a monetary thing. I think through hard work and determination, at some point in time, this might pay us to do this, but really right now it's strictly out of passion for the impact that we're having on the industry, because we want to leave it better than the way we found it. And this is how we're doing it.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, brother.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. I know this dude's been standing here the entire time. So thank you for listening. Hopefully we said something that might impact your life, because that's what this is about. We want to be able to impact people and, make a difference in our industry and change that stigma about, us roofers. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys next Wednesday, or actually tomorrow a couple times. So safe travels, my friends.
See you, brother.
Yep. That's right.
So frustrating. I freaking had a good little